So I am back for my fourth chat with the absolutely amazing Ismael Perez. Thank you so much for joining me so early, Ismael. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing a lot of good things right now from behind the scenes to bring forth more information for the collective as new information and data downloads come from the galactics. So I've been staying really busy. I've been, teaching my online course, which has been a success. Many people are loving the information that in detail. I'm actually also working on adding a new chapter to my book as I do a new edit, or I'm sorry, a new edition in the next month or two. So.
I know you've done you really are doing so much, and I do know how busy you are, which is why I appreciate you fitting me in so much. And what I thought today is I thought we could start the interview by finding out a bit more about the human version of you, because you're living in this. Sometimes it's very easy for people to think it's all right for that person, but you're living in the same human world that the rest of us are. You're a father, you're a husband, you've got the same sort of human issues to deal with. What are you finding most challenging about that at the moment?
It's trying to keep a balance between my Galactic Federation work that I'm doing and, raising a family, which I did. I have a daughter that's now 22 years old. She's been on her own for the last 3 years, doing great, about to get her master's in screenwriting.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I have a son at 16. He's going to be a junior in high school, who is a straight A student, wants to go into the industry of space engineering, which is amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so, throughout my entire life, for me, it was more of finding that balance, but also a lot of discipline is involved in this, being diligent about my mission, my purpose, waking up early every morning, getting things done, and finding time for everything. And of course, trying to get some sleep in addition to all that. But, overall, my life's been pretty great. I've been able to find my centeredness, my balance through meditation. If it wasn't for meditation, I probably wouldn't be able to do this because, it does get very overwhelming when you have thousands and thousands of people from all over the world asking you questions and wanting to talk to you. When you're getting even the haters, there's a lot of people triggered that are out there saying that, I'm whatever, part of the cabal, AI, they're calling me AI, whatever. So to me, it's just a matter of, I really don't worry about what they say. To me, it's just more publicity because I know the truth and I know why I am here at this point, so to me, it's just about finding that balance.
And I think you do it so beautifully. And we were just having a quick chat before I remembered to hit record about it's those habits and the disciplines and when you're so on purpose, because I really do admire you for how you are coping with all this and all this publicity, which you get the good stuff, but also you get a lot of negative stuff. And I will put my hand up, and I think my listeners know that, that's something I'm still very much in a learning curve about, and I don't get anything like what you do. But can you talk us through, we were just talking about your morning routine, and you've mentioned about the meditation. You're really disciplined, aren't you, in terms of your morning routine and putting the work in to get the results that you've got?
Absolutely, yes. I wake up every morning, 4:30, 4:45 in the morning. I do my grounding, my 20 minutes of yoga, and then I go to the gym. I work out. I have a very healthy, disciplinary diet. I keep myself in, the best shape as far as making sure that my vehicle is clear enough to receive more transmissions, because one of my gifts is that I'm constantly connecting with the Federation commanders that are assisting us in the liberation of our Earth. And so in order for me to be a clearer channel to the Federation forces, I have to keep my body clean. So I I only put good things in my body, raw organic living foods, and so, yeah, I have a routine that I follow every day. And that routine's been working for me for many, many years. So when it comes to that stuff, I'm very well organized.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point that out to the viewers, because I'm really, really passionate about those sort of things. In fact, I've been doing some talks with some other people about cleaning and looking after your physical vehicle, because we all know mind, body, spirit is balanced. And if you've got the wrong things inside of you, whether it's toxins or emotions, you're going to be an antenna for those low vibrations. So I love the way that you do that. And I think it's so easy for people to sort of focus on their problems. But, you know, my message is everyone can take a step today to put those disciplines into their life, whatever their starting point is, and you'll start to reap the rewards, because it takes hard work and commitment, doesn't it, Ismael?
Yes, it's really just, it boils down to willpower. How bad do you want it, you know? And, you know, like all scriptures say, you know, including, you know, the Quran and the holy books of the East, they all talk about how the body is your living temple. And so you're right, you know, if we consume foods that are, you know, not organic, that are very, very genetically modified and altered to make us sick, if we, you know, drink and smoke and do drugs, all that's going to do is just pollute our system and attract negative entities. You know, one of the reasons why there is so much addiction is because these people are attached by these parasites, are actually the real entities in them that is causing them to become addicted to certain things, you know? So in order for us to be a clear channel, we have to make sure that we stay in a high vibration through proper diet, proper thinking, and then of course, you know, your actions, what you do, that also helps to mold and shape your reality, you know? So it's one of those things where your body needs to be at a very high density. It can't be at a very low density. And it's always good to detox. It's always good to, you know, this, even if you're eating healthy, it's always good to take like chlorella and stuff like that to kind of like detox from the heavy metals, because the heavy metals are coming from all angles nowadays. It's coming in our shampoos that we use. It's coming in the makeup that women use, you know, chemtrails, all that stuff is these, you know, nanoparticulates. And so it's always good to detox despite your healthy habits. I detox every 2 weeks just so that I could, you know, keep my body as a high vibrating vehicle in order for me to keep, you know, accessing and downloading transmissions.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. It's something I'm so passionate about, and also to make sure that we don't forget to do it for our animals as well, which is why I spend most of my time working. Now, you managed to keep very calm. I know people sometimes comment about noise in videos and things like that. I want to point out to people that we're all doing this from sort of our homes. We're sharing information. We have got other lives and work to do. So there's distractions. You have an amazing ability, Ismael, to stay focused and calm. How do you do it?
I meditate every day.
Yeah.
Meditation is key in maintaining mindfulness. And when you are able to reach a level of consciousness where you're in the eternal moment without any distractions, then, you know, you're actually, it's what the Eastern masters calls you reached enlightenment, you know, when you're, because that's you mastering your mind. So I've learned how to master my mind, and I had to, you know, before I came into the scene 2.5 years ago when I was still a hermit, I was in the process of mastering my mind because I knew what I was going to get into. I knew that I was going to attract a lot of people, and then a good portion of those were going to be haters, trolls, and people that just, you know, want to bring down the truth from being disseminated. So to me, it's meditation. Meditation is everything. And the noises that people hear is, I do have a 46-pound, you know, female pit bull that has got a chain and sometimes rattling. I do have a terminally ill wife who sometimes is, you know, doing stuff in the kitchen. And then of course my 16-year-old son, you know, so those are the little noises that people are hearing. I don't have a handler. I'm not working for the cabal. I'm literally, you know, the caregiver of my wife, who is in stage 4 kidney failure. So yeah, I have to kind of balance everything out right now.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I really am. You know, big hugs. It's so difficult. And your dog sounds amazing. My dogs are normally here. And I wanted to just raise that just to show people that, look, you know, the reason we're sharing this, we're not trying to be professional studios and things like this. We are, you know, Ismael's got the same human challenges that a lot of people do. And I just really wanted to point out how much I admire you for coping that and still fitting in all you do. And certainly one thing I've noticed with you, because I've interacted with you a lot now, I am so impressed by the presence. You can tell the people that really do the work themselves, because you've managed to master that control. And does that help? Because I know a lot of people who are in similar positions to you, it can be quite tough on their family, on their children, because no one wants to see a loved one getting criticized. Does the fact that you're so centered, Ismael, and so on purpose, help your family cope with any of the negatives that might get thrown around?
Yes. Yeah, you know, I have to be an example as well. And just to let you know, my family, nobody in my family is awakened, you know.
Mm.
They're considered normies, and I'm okay with that. I'm not going to force my beliefs on my kids. If they choose not to believe this, you know, alternative source of information, then that's fine, you know. And so to me, it's also just finding that ground where I am, where I have acceptance for the things that I cannot change. But yet, you know, I'm still going forward with my mission.
I absolutely love that. I think it's so powerful. I mean, I've got two children, they're big children now, 22 and 20. And I just think that's one of the greatest gifts that you can be as a parent, is to be authentically yourself and have the courage to do that, because that does rub off and gives your children the example to be themselves and explore their own thoughts. Thank you so much for being so honest and sharing that. I really, really appreciate that. I think it's really important. So a lot of people are having, before we move on to some of the more challenging questions in terms of what's going on, a lot of people are just basically finding the current situation very challenging. What have been some of your own most personal challenges over the last couple of years with seeing? It must be a really unique position to be knowing what you know, but still having to function in reality.
You know, being the caregiver of my sick wife that is slowly dying. It's her case has been becoming more severe in the last year. And when I first published my book a little under a year ago, it was very challenging for me because I had to make a choice. You know, I either continue taking care of my sick wife or publish the book and get the information out there, because now that, you know, the people of the earth are ready. And so I made a bold decision, you know. And so to me, for the last year, it was just about trying to find a balance point. So that was very challenging for me, you know, waking up early, getting things done, and still having a daytime job, not a 9 to 5 necessarily, you know, but I still have a daytime job that I hold. And so to me, balancing everything out with my spiritual work, which is the dissemination of higher information, bringing in the bigger picture, right, in aiding of the Disclosure Project, and then trying to also be a caregiver, which was, you know, there was times where I would just kind of, you know, if it wasn't for my meditation, I guess most people would say I would have a breakdown, but I never got to that point because I control my mind and my emotions. But, you know, there's a lot of circumstances that happened in the last year that would have caused anybody else to break down and have a, you know, a nervous or an anxiety breakdown with everything that's been going on. But I was able to manage all that. So, you know, like you said, we're all human, despite of the fact that some of us are galactic in human forms or angels in human forms. We still have to, you know, adapt to the human condition, because that's how we are humbling ourselves. That's how we're developing our character. And that's why many of the galactics are jealous that we had an opportunity to descend and incarnate in these lower dimensions, which is what they call the, you know, the hardest dimension ever to explore. So we're brave souls to even come down here and, you know, and volunteering to save the earth. So yeah, it's been quite challenging. You know, life isn't easy. It seems like, you know, for myself in general, ever since I was a kid, I've always had opposition. I've always had contrast, and I think that that was necessary for me to become the person that I am today, because I'm very strong, you know. I'm very strong mentally. Nothing could break me. I'm very strong emotionally. And then, of course, physically, you know, so it's a balance for mind, body, and spirit. But like I said, you know, life hasn't always been easy for me. You know, I've been through so much, just like many people out there have. But again, you know, all that stuff, in a way, it's necessary because it allows us to grow. It allows us to become more stronger as individuals. And in the end, you know, it's just all part of the human experience, right?
Yeah. And I think it is so important. And again, thank you so much for being so honest, sharing that, because so many people watch this and they have the thoughts. And this isn't a criticize, by the way, that I'm saying this, but you know, everyone has got their own challenges that they're working through at different times. And I think it's really important to know that there's not a human on this world, or actually an animal, that isn't going through their own challenges. And having seen how masterful you are at controlling the energy that you emit, I can see why that must be such a wonderful connection you've got with the animals, because that's absolutely key to communicating and making animals at peace with you.
Well, not only the animals, but the elements as well. You know, I've learned to build a intimate relationship with the elements of air, fire, wind, the ether. You know, I even communicate with the electromagnetic field, which is intelligent. You know, most people think that gravity and the electromagnetic field are just forces, empty forces with no consciousness. But as I've meditated more throughout the years, I began to connect with them on an intimate level where they are actually conscious themselves.
Wow.
Yeah, this, you know, everything is alive. Everything is alive all around us.
Really is, and everything is connected, and you know, that's just, I think anyone watching this has a good realization of that. But when that really sinks in and you really start putting that into the practice, it really shows. So why do you think, as a race, as humans, whatever we want to call ourselves, race or whatever, you know, we talk about, we are so confused now, most people are, they don't know what to believe, they don't know how to trust their intuition. Huna Flash, who I speak to, talks about Lamaria and the time before confusion. Why is there such a ridiculously high level of confusion that we see in humans that personally I don't see in the animal kingdom?
Because the animals are already connected with spirit, the spirit realm. They understand things from an intuitive level, whereas humans, we were more like programmed. You know, we're, in other words, this body is like an interface to the third dimensional realm. So it's been programmed in most humans, unfortunately, to you know, not have that intuition. It's been calcified, you know, through all the chemicals that they feed us, because they don't want people to distinguish truth from misinformation. So that was all master planned. It was all part of this intelligent design by the cabal to keep us confused, because they knew that a time would come where the truth would once again be restored to the earth. And so, you know, there's a lot of agents that are actually within the truther community that have hijacked some of the information and are posing as light warriors, deliberately misinforming people about things. And, you know, that was also prophesied about, you know. So the way I see it is that as this veil continues to lift and as people begin to have more of a connection to spirit, in the end, truth will prevail, you know, because the intuition will always confirm and validate what is truth to what is not truth. So I just want to let everyone know that, you know, if you want to enhance that intuition and really discern all the information that is now kind of just pouring upon us at this time, meditate, because the more you meditate, the more you're going to be able to feel things on an intuitive level and be able to discern the difference between, you know, misinformation and the truth.
I so agree with you. I think it's the only way, because we are bombarded with so much information. And I think that's why they call it the practice of meditation, because the more you do it, the more everything will click into place. So, you know, it's just like anything. When you were learning to walk, when you were learning to ride a bike, when you're learning to drive, you have to practice it. And when you start, you know, having this as a daily habit, then the information starts getting clearer and clearer and the connections get clearer, don't they, Ismael?
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So when all the people, when you're worrying and you're sort of, because obviously I see it a lot with the people that I interact with, again, you know, people worrying about how do we know what to believe, how do you want, no one can tell you that for you. You have to go inwards and do the work yourself. And when you do, everything else about your life really improves as well. So I think that's such great advice to remove this confusion. One thing that crossed my mind, Ishmael, I'd like your opinion on, is as a human race, we're sort of the only species that uses language to this degree in talking. Do you think that has been a great disconnector for us?
Absolutely, because the language barrier was genetically installed in us by downgrading us to using only 2 helixes, or what we call, you know, less than 10% of our full genetic material. The more genetic material we use, the more telepathic we become. So most extraterrestrial races that exist within the 4th and higher dimensions are actually telepathic. And we used to once be telepathic during the times of Lemuria, during the times of Atlantics. But again, you know, due to this rebellion that took place against light, against oneness, we were genetically downgraded to the usage of words and, you know, sounds and stuff, which is something that is very primitive. You know, the use of language across the multiverse is actually considered very primitive, still classified under a type 1 civilization. And, you know, because once you get to a type 1 civilization, which is what we're now entering, because right now we're considered type 0, very primitive, then, you know, people begin to once again use their telepathic abilities. And that's the beauty of going into the higher dimensions when this shift occurs. You know, we're once again going to be able to communicate the way we did before this downstep or this downgrade of genetic material that, you know, was facilitated by the powers that be, or that were rather.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I mean, I've got really bad hearing loss. I wear 2 hearing aids. But actually, I've made a conscious decision at the moment not to use my meditation techniques and things to try and heal it, because I've found since my hearing has been so bad, my telepathy and my other forms of communication have improved so much that for me, I think it was, you know, almost deliberate that resource was taken away from me so that I could learn how to communicate energetically rather than just relying on my ears, which can distract. So coming on to the DNA side of things, what I find really fascinating as a biologist, I've got lots of friends who are scientists, and why do scientists still say that humans only have 2 strands of DNA?
Well, technically, they're saying, they're admitting that there are these other strands that are just not active. You know, they call it junk DNA. That's the term that the scientific community applies to our dormant DNA. But yeah, they don't want to tell people the truth that our potential is greater than what we were told. You know, because the entire scientific community is also controlled by the cabal. You know, it's the way they manipulate things. It's like it's really down to the it's a war against consciousness, what it really boils down to, ultimately. So as this veil of forgetfulness, as we now enter into the 5th dimension, which we are almost there, we've been in the 4th dimension since 2012, and that's why, you know, there's been a huge increase in the awakening in the last, you know, 10 years, especially as of 2016. You know, as more and more of the collective enters the higher dimension, which is 5th dimension, then you know, everything's going to come out. People are going to start using more DNA, and that's totally going to, I guess, how can I say it? It's going to prove the scientific community wrong, you know, because the star seeds are the disclosure. When they start using more DNA, they're going to have like these Superman, X-Men abilities. And then, you know, at which point, how can the scientific community continue to suppress that? It's going to be impossible.
Exactly. And I know, I mean, this could be a bit of a sensitive subject, so if it is, please tell me to move on. But because so many people have got loved ones that have got terminal diseases or illnesses, and then we see some people have already, like we spoke before about the work of Joe Dispenza and people like that, so it is, some people do have the ability to spontaneously heal, but a lot of people don't. And so it's so difficult. This is why there's such this fascination and desperation for the medbed technology. Do you feel that we're quite close to more people realizing that they are going to be able to heal themselves?
Absolutely, because that's part of the 5th dimensional reality, is being able to gene regulate and control, you know, your body's health through the deliberate conscious control of your mind. So I appreciate, you know, Dispenza. He is a marvelous neuroscientist who was able to bridge the gap between, you know, ancient metaphysics regarding mind over matter, and then of course the new biology. So he's and all the way the, you know, our mind works and stuff. The neural, what is it called? The neural activity of our brain.
Plasticity, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So when we change that, when we change our neural activity, we actually change our body. You know, the reason people age and the reason people get illnesses is because of the way their neural activity is processing data. The moment we shift that, everything changes. So as more and more people come to realize that they have infinite power and that they have the ability to heal themselves, you know, we're not going to need the med beds anymore. And those are the people that are actually already showing signs of being 5th dimensional conscious beings.
Yeah. And is this where the free will side of things come in? Because we've all got loved ones that we so want to do this for, but at the end of the day, it's not our journey, is it? It's theirs. And is this where the free will comes into it? Whether you're prepared to take that on or not?
Exactly. Yeah. Everyone's on their own different level of awakening in this case.
And there's a reason for that. Thank you.
And we have to honor their free will.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about the firmament? Do you think there is a firmament? Are we living under a dome?
Absolutely not. No, as I was getting memories of serving from the programs, I do remember as I was looking back to Earth when, the ship would go into the different colonies in our solar system, I would actually, there was nothing there. There was nothing there. You see the Earth and it's just this beautiful blue sphere of just glowing light. So based on my memories and based on a lot of my research, there there is no firmament. If anything, there was a firmament, but it wasn't like a solid firmament. It was more like a shield of like glass that was protecting the Earth about 10,000 years ago, or 12,000 years ago, I'm sorry, 15,000 years ago, during the times of Atlantis, that was protecting the Earth from like very deadly sun rays. But Marduk, the son of Enki, in his effort to gain control of Egypt and stuff in Samaria, or the old world, he actually blew up the firmament, or what we call the second shielding. But it wasn't solid. Again, it was made out of ice. He blew it up, and that actually is what caused the deluge, which what every culture calls the Great Flood. And he did it by imploding the underground pyramid structures when he was trying to once again, succeed in what he failed in Atlantis. So yeah, that was the only firmament that ever existed. And that's all going to be revealed when the disclosure takes place.
Yeah. And what about sort of Middle Earth or inner Earth and life living inside or under the Earth? What about that?
That is accurate. Yes. Our Earth is very hollowed. It's got an inner sun where gravity works invertly, to the point where the civilizations there have lakes, mountain, lands, huge, like the sizes of continents, by the way. It's kind of like the surface Earth, but is a little smaller within the inner Earth. And it's very honeycombed. There's different layers of inner Earth. And the civilizations that exist there are still, they're still operating as fifth dimensional societies. In other words, they don't die like we do, they don't age. And those were the remnant survivors of Lemuria after the cataclysm. Many of them went into the inner Earth to continue flourishing. And then, of course, some of the remnant survivors of the Atlantean cataclysm, and they're still there. And so people are always asking, well, where do these survivors come from? Well, they come from the different free star systems. They're actually Pleiadians, they're Lyrians, they're Arcturians, Andromedans, Sirians, Alpha Centaurians. So that's what we have in the inner Earth. We have an intergalactic and stellar society that has been flourishing and existing in secret for thousands of years. And as I speak, lately, a lot of the members from Inner Earth have been working closely with the Galactic Federation and the Earth Alliance to liberate the Earth, because as much as we would want to reunite with them, they want to reunite with us, but they're waiting for this shift in consciousness to take place in order for them to say, okay, it's safe now to go to the surface, right?
Yeah.
Now the cabal and the dark side is gone, then we could have some sort of planetary jubilee.
Wow, that's amazing. That really resonates with me, I must say. That really does. Gosh, that's quite incredible. I've got so many questions around that. So we are going to be linking up and seeing those. So I'll be very careful how I say that because of the platform we're on, the next question. So based on the fact that there's the inner Earth and things, we've had a lot of talk about young people being kept under the Earth surface in tunnels and being rescued. Do you know anything about that? And if so, where are they?
All right, so that's a different layer of the Earth. That's not part of the inner Earth structure.
No.
Inner Earth structure, exists miles deep.
Yeah.
Those are facilities and underground subterranean structures that were actually created by the Cabal with the help of the Draco to, kind of imprison these children in there in order for them to extract the androchrome, do the torture. And then, of course, in some cases, they straight out would feed them to the Draco. The Draco would, they love babies. They would just pop a baby like a pill and just swallow it whole, like an alligator. It's sickening. So that's totally different than the Inner Earth Society, but there has been a few skirmishes where some of these underground Cabal bases actually were very close to one of the cities. And, there were a few fights that took place between the Guardians of the Inner Earth at the Council of Telos and Agartha, and of course the Draco and the, interplanetary corporate conglomerate, which is, the breakaway group that's been running our world from behind the scenes for a while. So there's been a few skirmishes there where, you know, the Draco and the Cabal have been wanting to kind of go into the inner earth. But again, you know, those the inner earth is very well sealed and protected.
Yeah.
No way they could enter there. And Admiral Byrd actually went on record to reveal that there was a portal in the Arctic region and in the Antarctic region that actually leads to the inner earth. And he talked about this. So, you know, all that evidence is coming.
I sent some of the stuff of that to some people. And of course, you can imagine there was the response I got. But hey ho, that's their problem, not mine. That's really amazing. So have there been, have those operations been shut down now completely? And if so, are there any survivors and where are they?
Yes, they were able to rescue millions upon millions of children. I think the total number was over 50 million. That's a lot. You know who was behind this liberation of the Earth's children?
Who?
Melania Trump. She's actually a Pleiadian commander. Yes.
Yeah, I heard you talking about her being Palladian, and I think that resonates with anyone who looks at her. She's just absolutely off this world. You know, amazing. Yeah.
6 different languages, has a very high IQ. Very, you know, she's a genius in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So they've been kept off world at the moment, or
well, they've been taken off planet to be facilitated with the med beds, because a lot of these children were, I mean, they were just hanging by a thread. They were like half dead, half alive. Just, you know, their fingers had been cut off from torture, bleeding everywhere, bruises everywhere. They couldn't even open their eyes. I mean, I hate to go graphic here, but it was just sickening. But luckily, the med beds were able to regenerate them within hours. And then, you know, now they're being kind of facilitated in a way where it's almost like you know how there's physical therapy, well, there's mental therapy in these ships where they're, because these kids are completely traumatized. I mean, they're broken consciously, so they don't even know if these rescuers are going to do anything to them. They're constantly like, you know, thinking they're going to get hit, so they're constantly like flinching, and so they're undergoing psychological healing, in other words.
Thank you.
In order,
yeah. And that makes complete sense. I think anyone who's worked with rescued and abused animals will understand that, you know, so well. So I just had a lot of questions about that. So my next question is about, just as an overview, I know not that is such a big question, but how much of our history have we been lied to about, and when did those lies start?
Everything we know, it's wrong. It seems like every 2,000 years, the powers that were always trying to reset history and rewrite it. So including the ancient Sumerian tablets that were tampered with. And of course, you know, Sakurai Sitchin, who was actually aligned with the Cabal. A lot of people don't talk about this stuff. So everything we know about the Anunnaki has also been twisted in service to the Luciferian, you know, Anunnaki god that's been running the Cabal for thousands of years. You know, they made him look like the good guy. But so everything we've been taught is wrong, Catherine. So this disclosure is really going to be like a shocker to many, many people.
It so is, because there's a saying which, you know, sort of rings true a lot, that if we don't learn from history, we repeat it. But of course, they wanted to keep us in certain repeating behavior patterns, hence the lies. So it's almost like now, to rebuild, people are almost going to have to just wipe the slate clean and move forward, because if we spend too much energy looking back, is that going to be constructive for us? Is it going to stop us moving forward?
Well, we learned from those mistakes, but the true history of the Earth will be revealed in great detail. You know, I kind of go over it in my book, Our Cosmic Origin, based on the information that I was able to download, which actually aligns very well with the Akashic records, because a lot of mediums were able to tap into my book and validate that all that information is actually accurate. And so I was very, very impressed that my work was validated by many, many psychics and mediums who actually have a connection to the Akashic records.
It's just amazing. I mean, how do you balance all these? Like, even today, I'm throwing so many different questions at you, and you get this in every single person that interviews you. I mean, the range of subjects that you get thrown at, how on earth do you balance that? Balance recalling that information?
I do have a photographic memory, so just like, and I am organic. I just store information like a computer, where I have everything in files. So when somebody asks me the question, all I have to do is clear my head. Within a second, I get the answer because it's all in my files. Yeah, I guess that's one of my gifts.
That certainly is a gift. I used to be like that when I was a bit younger. I'm certainly not anymore. I think it comes into this sort of overthinking that us humans are so used to just going into the overthinking instead of stepping into our heart space. So that's probably another thing that people can really practice, isn't it? I mean, again, animals are very much acting from an instinctual level and go into thinking mode afterwards, and we're the opposite.
Yes, but we're being restored back to that level of, higher consciousness, where we're going to be able to access information by going within ourselves. Because ultimately, as we become multidimensional, we're all going to have access to infinite knowledge. Everything about who we were, what we were prior to incarnating on the earth, it's all going to be unveiled to us. So I always tell people, do your own research, do your meditations, go within, and just don't take anything face value. I even tell people, question my work, do your own research. I'm not here to preach that I'm absolutely correct. I'm just letting you guys know what my truth is based on my research and my downloads. But at the same time, do the work yourself. Don't just take anything face value. Do your own research.
So important. So on that note, has there been any recent revelations for you personally where that's just completely changed your perspective on something? Because I've had quite a lot over the last couple of years.
Just personally, or what's going on in the collective?
Both
Either?
personally or on in the collective, yeah.
All right, so it's come to my attention that a small portion of the Galactic Federation personnel have defected from the light and have joined sides with the AI, with the AI God. And so that's why some of the people out there who are claiming to be contactees and ambassadors for the Federation are actually giving misinformation, because their contactees have joined sides with the AI. So as I speak right now, there is you could say a minor skirmish going on in space between the defectors that decided to sell us out to the AI, and then those that are still working to make sure that this planet becomes fully liberated against the AI and of course all the negative stuff. So that recently was brought to my attention. I just haven't been able to talk about it, but it's very important for people to know that we're still at war with AI. We are still at war with AI, despite the fact that the cabal has all the evidence and they've regained access to all the servers, and they are getting ready to expose the cabal. We're still at war with AI, and so yeah, I just want people to know that the war against AI isn't yet over yet, and I think that's what's going to end that war is the solar flash, because the solar flash is also going to act as an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse that is going to destroy the AI infrastructure that the cabal has been developing since the 1950s. So I think that's why I believe that the solar flash, once the AI decides to make, the AI has been sentient, Google's sentient, your phones are sentient, your phones know you better than you. It's all, yeah, exactly. It's been sentient for many, many years. In fact, the first AI was established in the 1950s. And so the solar flash is the only thing that's going to destroy what I call the second beast. So the first beast is the cabal, which is the Luciferian Brotherhood. The elite families that could trace their lineage all the way to Nimrod of Babylon. And then we have the second beast, which John the Revelator in the book of the Apocalypse talks about, when he says that the beast will know everything. It will have access to everyone. It will and then be everywhere at once. Well, when you think about all our gadgets and how everyone has an iPhone or a droid, whatever, that's how the beast is able to sense things. The beast is gathering information. And now even that beast, that sentient AI, has the ability to read our thoughts. That's how advanced it is. So yeah, we're still at war with that. And then that explains the infiltration that took place, where a small portion of the Federation were able to become compromised.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I suppose it's like anything, is often the people who are communicating with compromised people won't realize that. They won't necessarily know. It's very hard. That's why you've got to go inwards and do the discernment. Yeah, you really have. So, and reading energy is really important as well, isn't it? Is tuning into the energy
Yes, and then one of my interviews that I did a week ago with Kabbalah Guru, he actually is right. He had a realization a week and a half ago that the word Gog and Magog in the book of Revelation, I'm sorry, in the book of Ezekiel, actually meant, Google and the metaverse. Well, Zuckerman's version of the metaverse. He in the prophecies of Ezekiel, it said that Gog and Magog will be the final enemy before the millennium, which is perfectly aligns with the intel that I'm getting from the galactics about the sentient AI that is already that's been in existence here in our world for quite some time.
Wow. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It really does. Why are they still spraying our skies? Is this the fact that, a bit like in a football match, you could be winning 5-0, but it's not over until the final whistle goes? That was what you were just saying, that the AI hasn't been completely taken down, the dark hasn't completely been taken down yet.
Yeah, the AI is going to be taken down once the new Starlight, what is it called? Starlink system kicks in with, of course, the quantum financial system, which is under codename Project Odin. That's when the internet, Google is going to be shut down, Magog, the metaverse, everything that has to do with the AI system is going to be shut down and replaced by the new positive, Starlink connecting QFS and so on and so forth. So the Bible does make that mention that, that a new system will be replacing the system of the beast. And that is the Starlink system, I believe.
But is Elon Musk not involved in that anymore? Because I think you said he's a baddie.
Well, yeah, he's actually been enhanced. He's actually a cyborg. He's using his own neural lace, so he's enhanced his intelligence by like 1,000%. Wow. So yeah, he's the Starlink satellite is now being controlled by the Earth Alliance, because he was playing both sides. He was part of the alliance. He was helping the alliance, but then again, this AI signal that is now in control of all technology is compromising people. Yeah,
it certainly is. Why do you think, again, I know it's probably a bit repetitive, but why do you think so many people find it so easy to be distracted and not do the work to go inside? Because the same messages keep coming out over and over again, but a lot of people aren't taking that step to actually do it, and it causes so much anxiety for them.
Who knows? Perhaps it's just easier for them to get the information from others. For some, it's hard to even clear your mind to start or begin to meditate. So they see it as hard work, trying to clear your mind, trying to meditate. And then once you learn how to master your meditation, like, how do I know I'm actually doing it right, where I'm able to tap into, my own downloads, my intuition about things? I would say at this point, everybody needs to start meditating, because things are going to be, in the next few months, we're going to hit some sort of where when disclosure takes place, many people are going to be confused. Yeah. So in order for them to stay sane and really understand what's being revealed, it's best for them to also confirm and validate the information through their intuition, because without that, it could drive you crazy, not knowing what to believe, where, all of a sudden, even conflicting information is coming from all these different angles. Yeah,
absolutely. And it does get easier, people. I mean, on a personal journey, I'm finding that gets easier and easier, in terms of being able to discern, and feel comfortable with where I'm at about what information I take in and what information I dismiss. That's really amazing, actually. So what about, there's a lot of people that are quite obsessed about talking about, having past lives with people, which it's not that I don't believe that, but it's almost become a must-have in terms of, as soon as someone gets on with someone, it's like, oh, we knew each other, we did this in our past lives. Do you think that's a really useful thing to be going down, or do you think that could be another distraction?
Well, it depends. Like, if you are feeling a past life connection with somebody and you're constantly pushing it on them, that saying, hey, I knew you from a past life, and that other person has no recollection, then it could become a little, can I say it, infringing on somebody's freedom, trying to convince them about something that they don't have anything to back it up with. But it is very real, as more and more people begin to awaken, they're starting to have memories of who they were in past lives. And then so when they meet certain people or see somebody on the internet for the first time, they get a sense of like, I know that person, I know that person, I know that person, I know that person. That's normal. You know, the veil is being lifted. Our pineal gland is coming online. We are going to start gravitating towards the people that we kind of always work with, you know,
Yeah.
during ancient times, you know, Atlantis, Lemurians. A lot of people in my network or my inner circle of friends who I work with a lot, they all know me, you know, we've all worked together. It's just, we're all reuniting. And that goes with our, you know, awakened community as well, like all the truthers like yourself and Tara by Janine and so on and so forth. We're all coming together again, you know, because we've always kind of worked together, you know. The forces of light always resonate with each other.
Yeah.
And that's why they always, in every lifetime, Catherine, they always gravitate towards each other, because it is the same mission that they're trying to fulfill that they couldn't fulfill in prior timelines or in prior lifetimes. And now this is our final incarnation. So, you know, we're going to be fulfilling our mission.
Yes, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. In terms of the things, one of the things quite topical at the moment is the electric cars. Is that a dangerous thing? Is that something, again, because there's so many things that they're throwing at people which they're putting as at their best interest, but can actually be quite harmful for them? Do you know anything about the electric cars situation?
Well, that's all part of the emergence of the automatons or the self-driving cars, and how eventually they want to replace humans with automatons to do all the physical labor. That's all part of the AI takeover, you know, which has a lot to do with self-driving cars. But electrical cars are actually a step into that, to self-driving cars. The real technology is in hover cars. And so there's a lot of companies that are being suppressed who actually have the patents to develop the hover cars. The hover cars use free energy. Electrical cars, you know, you still have to charge them. You're still using, you know, very primitive energy inputs. Whereas the hover cars, you know, it's using energy that is actually healthy for the environment, healthy for the individual. It's just, you know, it's much better. It's much better. So I think that as disclosure takes place, all that stuff, combustion, the electrical cars are all going to be replaced by hover cars, and everyone in the fourth dimensional Earth will have a hover car, like the Jetsons. We're all, you know, we're going to be flying our cars 50, 100 feet in the air.
Exactly. So it's going to be fantastic. So in terms of because you've been doing so many interviews with people, have you had anything that has made you doubt that we're still on the timeline, that this is all going to happen very soon?
No, because according to my sources, the positive timeline has been secured, where the forces of light actually check-pinned the Cabal and the Draco and the AI God on every probability. So so no matter which probability occurs, it's already been won in victory of the light.
Fantastic.
So we don't have to worry about anything. Yeah. As I speak right now, and as revealed by another galactic ambassador by the name of Victoria Reynolds, we're down only 2 timelines right now. All 12 timelines that were all coexisting at the same time. And a lot of it has to do with the activity of CERN when it was under the control of the dark hats, but luckily now the white hats have taken over it. It collapsed everything to just 2 timelines. So now it's either the positive or the AI timeline. But, you know, of course, we know that that's going to cause the bifurcation of timelines, which those that are in the positive are going to explore and experience the millennium. 1,000 years of heaven on earth.
Perfect. So you've got, obviously, everyone knows we've got your book, your fantastic book that I know you're writing an additional chapter to, but please do go out and get those, people. I'm about halfway through it. I have to keep rereading it because there's just so much information in there. It's absolutely brilliant. Your courses, have you got any spaces left on your courses at the moment?
Just in my October course, I have a few spots left. It's filling up quick though.
Okay, great, fantastic.
And I do have a 10 a.m. Pacific time, so that would be what, 4 a.m. in the UK or 3?
Yeah, that would be really good for people sort of in the UK and Europe. So that's great. And everyone, the links are always, if you look at the down arrow below their video, then all how to get Ismael's book and his links and follow him on Instagram are all going to be there. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you want to let people know about before we let you go?
Yes, do everything in your power to just, you know, stay centered, stay mindful, because things are going to be revealed pretty soon. You know, a lot of weirdness is going to be happening in the next few months, because things are leading to a climax. And then most importantly, if you could incorporate at least 20 minutes a day to just clearing your head, to some sort of devotion to, a higher power, source, whatever you want to call it. Everybody has a different explanation of God. Do it, because that's what's going to allow you to have discernment when all this information bombards us. Because this is just the tip of the iceberg, by the way.
Yes, it really is. It really is. Thank you so much. I really appreciate, know how busy you are, really appreciate your honesty. And I really appreciate your energy that you bring to this conversation. It's just absolutely wonderful, Ismael. And, I hope you've got enough support around you, because you're very busy and you've got a lot being thrown at you. So thank you so much. We all appreciate you.
Thank you, Catherine, for having me here again. I appreciate you as well.
Take care. Give that doggy a big hug.
I will. I will.
All right. Thanks, Ismael. Bye.
You're welcome.